The title of the presentation is Gurudeva Sivaya Subramuniyaswami's Teachings on Yoga. In Hindu scripture, the earliest usage of the term yoga as applied to spiritual endeavor has the meaning of the control of the mind and senses. That is the essence of the term yoga in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Patanjali was a Saivite Nada Siddha who lived around 200 BCE. In his famed spiritual text, the Yoga Sutras, he codified the ancient yoga philosophy, which outlines the path to enlightenment through purification, control, and transcendence of the mind. His system is one of the 6 classical Hindu philosophical systems, darshanas, and is known as Yoga Darshana. In English, it is called classical yoga. The importance of the Yoga Sutras to our Guru Parampara is found in this story in the Guru Chronicles of a meeting that Gurudeva, founder of Kauai's Hindu monastery, had with his guru Yogaswami in Sri Lanka in 1949. While awaiting the refreshments, Yogaswami asked his guest if he had read Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. In fact, he got the book down from his shelf, commenting that it was the only book he kept. Gurudeva said yes, he had read it. In fact, it was the only book he had really studied during his early training. He had read and practiced it for years. Yogaswami tossed a few penetrating questions about the Pitti classic. Gurudeva answered quickly and clearly. Recounting his experience later, he said that the answers came immediately, not as an intellectual memory, but from within. Patanjali defines yoga in verse 2. Yoga is the restraint of mental activities. Our minds are generally busy in one type of mental activity or another. We are remembering events from the past, thinking about current tasks, or theorizing about possible future events. The practices of yoga are designed to enable us to cease these mental activities altogether during meditation. In verse 3, the sage continues, "Then awareness abides in itself." When mental activity is restrained, the soul's faculty that witnesses thoughts naturally turns in on itself, and it remains temporarily aware only of itself until thoughts again arise. Verse 4. At other times, awareness takes on the form of the activities. It is the nature of the witness consciousness of the soul that it not only observes mental activities, but also identifies with those activities. A simple example is the experience of happiness. We say, "I am happy." Awareness has taken on the form of happiness. Yoga is a Sanskrit word that means yoking or union. Philosophically, it generally refers to the union of the individual self with the Supreme. In Sanskrit, we say Atman ultimately unites with Brahman, or Jiva becomes one with Shiva. However, the process to which the term yoga refers in the Yoga Sutras is actually one of separating rather than joining. The late Dr. Georg Feuerstein, an Indologist and expert on the Yoga Sutras, explained, according to one definition especially popular among Vedanta and Neo-Vedanta followers, yoga means union. Although this may be correct as regards certain forms of yoga, it is definitely inapplicable to Patanjali's Kriya Yoga, whose essence consists rather in a disunion, namely the disjunction of the Purusha, soul, and the world. Clearly, Patanjali is telling us separation is necessary for liberation. He does not address the idea of the ultimate union. Here is Gurudeva's perspective on this concept. Consciousness and awareness are the same when awareness is totally identified with and attached to that which it is aware of. To separate the two is the artful practice of yoga. Naturally, the Shumchef language is needed to accomplish this. When awareness is detached from that which it is aware of, it flows freely in consciousness. A tree has consciousness. Awareness can flow into the tree and become aware of the consciousness of the tree. In a chapter of his metaphysical masterpiece, Merging with Shiva, entitled The Story of Awareness, Gurudeva develops this idea further by stating that consciousness or mind is stationary and awareness travels through it. Visualize a little ball of light. We'll call that man's individual awareness, and that light is shining right out from his eyes, and this little ball of light is going through the mind. It's going through the area of the mind that's always unhappy. It's going through the area of the mind that's always dreaming. The area of the mind that's delightfully happy. The area of the mind that's in absolute bliss. The area of the mind that's absolutely in jealousy all the time. The area that's in fear all the time. Many people live in this area of the mind. It's quite crowded with lots of balls of light there. This ball of light flows through the area of the mind that's in resentment. It's like a churning ocean. It's a delightful place to be in, especially if you're a little ball. You get bounced all around. Then there's the area of the mind that is completely peaceful and has always been peaceful. No mood or emotion has ever been in it to ruffle it, because that's the peaceful area of the mind. The one who meditates seeks out this area to become aware in. Man's individual awareness is just like this little ball of light, and it's like a camera. It photographs, it registers, it understands. It is pure intelligence. Man knows where he is in the mind, but the first step in awakening on the path of enlightenment is to separate awareness from that which it is aware of. In 1968, Gurudeva was striving to teach meditation in a serious way to a group of his advanced students who had traveled with him to Europe. He was frustrated in trying to use English and Sanskrit words to describe subtle states of deep superconsciousness he wished to share. This culminated in a thought. The feeling began to come that what was really needed was another language, a new, fresh language. One giving me a vocabulary that we could use to accurately describe inner states of consciousness. End of Gurudeva's quote. As I wrote in the introduction to 12 Shum Meditations, Gurudeva discovered within superconsciousness the Shumchef language as a result of his desire to give precise descriptions for the various realms of meditation. The uniqueness of the Shum language is that it gives us specific words, technical terms, so to speak, for different meditative experiences. It's much easier to grasp a concept when there is one word to convey it than talking about the concept in a rambling way, because no single word describes it. 12 Shum Meditations tells the story of the Shumchef language and provides 12 specific meditations called Mamsani on some of Gurudeva's central meditative concepts. To stress the importance of the Mamsani, he had all 12 carved into the stone pillars of Yerevan Temple. As the all-granite temple is designed to last for 1,000 years, he assured that at least for the next millennium, this central aspect of his teaching would not be forgotten. Patanjali's system of yoga is referred to as Ashtanga Yoga. It is also referred to as Raja Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga means the yoga of 8 limbs. Notice that the tree in the painting has 8 branches to symbolize these 8 limbs. Patanjali's system is a gradational one, meaning that we take up a new practice only after having accomplished a certain mastery of the previous one. Here are the 8 progressive limbs. Yama, ethical restraints, of which nonviolence is the first. Niyama, religious observances. Asana, yogic posture. Pranayama, breath control. Pratyahara, sense withdrawal. Dharana, concentration. Dhyana, meditation. samadhi, ecstasy, or oneness. This chart points out the gradational nature by grouping the first two limbs as being of a moral nature, the next three of a physical nature, the next two of a mental nature, and the last being of a spiritual nature. It is unfortunate that teachers of modern-day yoga ignore the first and second limbs, yama and niyama, and so the yoga practitioner begins with the third limb, asana. This is not so crucial for yogis seeking only health benefits. However, it is highly problematic for practitioners who pursue the ancient discipline in hopes of reaping deep spiritual benefits, who have higher consciousness as the goal of their yoga practices. Skipping the yamas and niyamas, which provide a foundation of good character, obstructs the mystical process that they can achieve and sustain. In this regard, a modern exponent of Hatha Yoga, B.K.S. Iyengar, cautioned, "Practice of asanas without the backing of yama and niyama is mere acrobatics." Yama and niyama control the yogi's passions and emotions and keep him in harmony with his fellow man. Gurudeva explained this idea. To build character, to act in accordance with the yamas, a person has to realize that, having acted instinctively, he experienced consequences that he does not want to experience again. So now he realizes that he should follow these restraints and not go through those consequences again. This is the foundation. Without this foundation, there is no spiritual growth, no fruit. Trying to realize the highest realizations before laying this foundation would be like taking a lime tree that was cut off from its roots and putting it into a bucket and expecting it to bear fruit. Of course, it will not. For adults, we have two publications with detailed explanations of the yamas and niyamas. They are Yoga's Forgotten Foundation and Living with Shiva, chapters 2 through 9. For children, we have two books in this series, Hindu Children's Modern Stories. Volume 1, 10 Tales of Self-Control, has a story for each of the 10 yamas. Volume 2, 10 Tales About Religious Life, has a story for each of the 10 niyamas. These two books were written for ages 10 to 12. Each story in Volume 1 speaks to a single value, for example, nonviolence, honesty, purity, or giving. Several stories focus on the consequences of making the wrong kind of friends. Each story in Volume 2 speaks to the wisdom and practical application of a single religious observance, such as remorse, contentment, faith, or austerity. Several stories focus on practical application of religion, showing how if children sincerely appeal to God and the gods for help, help will be forthcoming. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.